Operation Harsh Doorstop is a long-anticipated, free, milsim tactical shooter that's been in development for several years now by Blue Drake 42 and his development studio, Drakeling Labs. It released in early access on February 15th and has had a lot of praise but also a lot of criticism. The core mission of Operation Harsh Doorstop, or OHD, is to provide not only a free milsim tactical shooter for fans of the genre, but to also provide a sandbox for the modding community by offering Steam Workshop support and free access to the modding SDK to allow for OHD to be whatever you want it to be. Almost like the Gary's mod of tactical milsims. It's also unique in having single player support, which is a feature that you don't find in the milsim genre very often. In this video, I want to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of OHD and whether or not I think the game is worth your time at this stage of its development. I'm going to start off with the things in OHD that are downright bad right now. One of OHD's selling points is that they offer single player support, which is awesome, and I'll go over the good parts of that later on in the video. Of course, if you're going to play a tactical shooter in single player, that means you're going to play against the AI. As of right now, the AI in OHD is downright awful. The AI struggles in almost every aspect you can think of. It has terrible pathing, the AI perception is horrible, and even when the AI does see the enemy, they literally just fire at them regardless of who or what is in front of them. Overall, the AI is really rough. In order to really make the single player a true draw to the game, I feel that the AI in the base game needs to be worked on. Possibly with the addition of difficulty levels that you can work with, but I don't really think improved AI should be left to the modding community to fix if you truly want single player to be a viable game mode for people to play. Moving on to my next big issue is the fact that there's no way to see what mods are being used on a server. You can see a Steam Workshop symbol to indicate that the server is modded, but there's no way to know exactly what mods are even being used, so you can go and download them. This is something that I would have expected to be standard with the release of the game, considering the fact that modding is supposed to be the biggest feature that OHD is going to have. In addition, there is no auto download for mods, though personally I don't really have an issue with that as much. That's kind of a nice to have type of feature, whereas seeing what mods are on a server is kind of a need to have feature. The final thing I'm going to mention here is the fact that there's little to no communication in multiplayer servers, but that's not really OHD's fault because that's on us the players to make that a reality. But with that being said, you're really not going to find a really true milsim type of feel right now with the game because of the lack of communication. Now for the things that aren't necessarily good or bad, but just kind of fall into the ugly category. The primary thing that falls into this category is the gameplay itself. The overall gameplay comes across as very arcade-like, which doesn't really fall into the tactical milsim that OHD is striving to be. It's really just kind of a run around and shoot things. There isn't really much deeper than that as of right now, but with the updates and features that are being worked on, I have no doubt that the gameplay will become far more refined as development continues. Unfortunately, as of right now, the gameplay gets very stale very quickly, even with some of the mods that have been added, but I'm hopeful to see that change in the coming months as modders get busy and development gets ready to add major features that I'll go over near the end of this video. Another thing that really fits perfectly into the ugly category is the UI. The main menu when you first start the game is relatively fine at this point. My main issue is really with the server browser. Some key things that are missing here to me is the ability to search for a specific server and the ability to filter out empty servers because, there are a lot of empty servers right now. Again, these are things I sort of expect to be in the works, so I'm not really going to hit them very hard on this one. Finally, for the ugly category is that there isn't a base anti-cheat for OHD right now. Now, this is something that the development team has been heavily criticized for, but they have heard that criticism, and easy anti-cheat is on the way. Now, how much that'll help is probably pretty limited. Anybody who has played a game like Squad knows that the EAC doesn't really stop everybody, and that the server owners have to kick a lot of people or ban people who are cheaters. So, OHD will likely be no different because of this. Now let's talk about the good aspects of OHD. One of the biggest things I like is the fact that there are different eras represented in the base game, and the ability in single player to pit these eras against each other. They have World War I, World War II, Cold War, Vietnam, and modern factions just in the base game. If you want to make the World War I US Army fight modern insurgents, you can do that, and I think that's pretty awesome. You can also have as many as 128 AI players, though as I said earlier, the AI is rough, and the more you have, the worse it gets. In addition, some of the mods that are in the works or that are already released are pretty cool. The one I enjoy the most is the Star Wars mod, which adds Tatooine as a map and allows you to play as either the Separatist droids or one of a number of clone units, each with their own unique armor. To add to the unique features of OHD, if you want the Cold War US Army to fight the droids or clones, you can do it, and you can do it on Tatooine. I don't really know of anywhere else where you could do that. The final thing I'm going to put under the good is that OHD is still in early development. The developers are working on a lot of new features. Among these are the addition of ground vehicles, helicopters, jets, a build system, a logistics system, and my personal favorite, the addition of destructible environment. So while things are fairly rough around the edges, some major features are on the way. Before getting to whether I think OHD is worth your time, I do want to offer this invite to my Discord. I recently started a Discord server, and you can find the link in the description below. So come on over to the Brickyard and say hi. So, is OHD worth your time at this point in its development? Unfortunately, the answer is no. The game is just missing too much right now, and the gameplay gets very old very quickly, and you will be downright bored if I'm being honest. Now, I do plan to keep up with the development as much as possible. I want to provide updates on some of the issues I point out in this video, along with anything that is notable as far as features or fixes. Of course, the game is free, so you're not going to be out any money if you do decide to give it a try, but I feel that at this point, it's really just not worth the time. I do highly recommend you go check out Blue Drake 42's channel. He'll post updates fairly regularly there, and if you're interested in following the development more closely, I really suggest you hop into the official Discord server for OHD, and I'll include a link to that in the description below as well. They do post almost daily updates on things that are in the works. So with all that being said, I really would like to hear what your thoughts are on OHD at this point. I do think it has a lot of potential, and I think it will eventually get there, but it's going to take some time. And for now, I think I'll just go ahead and see you on the battlefield.